This is your Icewind Dale DM guide for the towns of Good Mead and Dougan's Hole and their quests. The mead must flow and hold up, from Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. Hey, I'm Bob, and this is where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together. So hit that subscribe button to get new guides every Wednesday. And if all these 10 towns feel a little difficult to keep track of, I recommend picking up Call of Winter on DM's Guild. Not an official sponsor, but I find the info map and travel map super helpful, and it includes other useful stuff. So check it out through the links below to support the channel. Good Mead is a small forest and lake town on the shore of Red Waters, founded by Chultan immigrants who for some reason chose to travel way north from their tropical home. Its squat buildings with carvings of dinosaurs and serpents are overshadowed by the two-story Mead Hall, which makes the town literally buzz with the droning of bees. Good Mead's closest neighbor is Dougan's Hole, 4 hours south, but it connects to Bryn Shander, Caerdinival, and East Haven by a crossroads which should really have its own small town, or at least an inn. Good Mead is friendly and comfortable, but doesn't have much to offer, and its 100 citizens are without a town speaker since theirs was recently killed by a thirsty giant. So the town, the quest, and the crest are all focused on the mead. It really distinguishes this town from the rest. And they sacrifice warmth to our rill, aka no fires for a night, but it doesn't seem so bad if they can all huddle in the cozy Mead Hall for the night. But the hall apparently has a large fire-heated space for the bees, so maybe the people have to use their body heat to keep the bees alive on that night. Here, your players can meet the reluctant speaker candidate, a barrel maker named Olivessa Untapur, to learn about Good Mead's problems. And there's no price table for the mead, so use the wine numbers from the player's handbook, with large casks, like those stolen by the giant, worth 200 gold. The only other location is the Shrine of the Flaming Sword, an abandoned temple to the war god Tempest. But I replaced Tempest with a homebrew deity that one of my PCs cares about, and I added a young acolyte of the god who lets visitors stay the night for free, because this town doesn't have an inn. As written, the only person in the shrine is the dead town speaker, Kendrick Reelsbarrow, who was killed 2 days ago by a mead-stealing giant. This power vacuum is already written to be contested by the Zhentarim. Speaker Nerth Maxildanar of Targos has orchestrated a plan to make Shandar Froth, a dwarf logger and murderer, win the upcoming election by staging an attack for him to heroically quell. And there are 2 ways to make this really interesting. 1. Note that Shandar is being blackmailed by the Zhentarim, so maybe he really doesn't want to be the speaker, and he'll privately seek help from the party to take down Nerth. Or 2. Make Speaker Reelsbarrow's death part of the Zhentarim's plan, where the giant has merely been framed for their assassination. They have an ogre roommate, a giant girlfriend, some penned livestock, they cook and season their food, but their food is people, so you can go full creepy cannibal vibes for this giant if you're really into running a horror campaign. Or just nix the cannibalism, go with the Zhentarim conspiracy, and this giant is a good guy. The ogre is the one who killed everyone in the search party after all. And the giant clearly has lived here for a while, so how has this man-eater never been a problem until 2 days ago? For my game, I honestly found the whole cave with the giant, the ogre, the bear, the other giant to be a little too complicated, so I replaced them all with a single ice troll. And it was still the closest I ever got to a total party kill. But it was epic. My PCs narrowly escaped, and they were chasing Scath, Speaker Nerth's Zhentarim lieutenant, through the caves, and he ended up getting smashed by the troll. Besides the dead search party, your PCs will find a trapper with a fox, a chewinga, and a giant's tracks which they're supposed to follow 8 hours to the cave. It has not 3, but 4 entrances, a large firelit chamber with roasting dwarf, one of the goats or sheep. The cave also has a bathroom and a treasure chamber with the sleeping ogre, the stolen mead, and other loot. There's also the giant's hostile pet bear, Yogabor, who sleeps on a frozen pool with a statue of Sylvanas that can grant a creature greater restoration once if they drink from the pool. There's some random ancient tombs with cursed loot, and the giant, Doug, who's actually a type of giant called a Veerbeeg, but I hate that name because it just sounds like very big, and that's why I've just called him a giant throughout this video. Finally, Doug's girlfriend, Gog, is supposed to show up for a date as the party is leaving, pretty awkward if they just killed him, and she brings a gift. Shards of otherworldly metal jettisoned from the Mind Flayer ship before it crashed in the mountains, which I just added to the Troll's treasure hoard in my game. And if foiling a Zhentarim plot isn't a good hook for your players, you could suggest that whoever returns the mead would likely be elected town speaker, or just offer a bunch of mead as a reward. But when establishing roots here, remember that Good Mead is second on the list when the Chartlan dragon starts destroying towns in Chapter 4, getting wrecked right after the tiny, creepy village of Dougan's Hole. The people don't like visitors, they're mostly inbred, and many have physical deformities. There's only 50 of them. Their speaker is a blunt old woman named Edgra Dermot, and the crest represents the only truly interesting feature in Dougan's Hole, a ring of megaliths known as the 20 Stones of Thrun. No one knows who built it or why, and Thrun is only known to be some ancient creature, either a god or a destructive elemental spirit. Cyclopean megaliths, pointy-toothed insular townsfolk. To really prepare for this location, just read the short story Shadow over Innsmouth by H.P. Lovecraft. But really, the quest in this book has maybe the most oversights I've ever found in a single adventure location. And before we cover them, remember to like this video if you're finding it valuable, and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and consider joining Patreon to get one-page PDF guides of these quests. Thanks. So, 2 vengeful winter wolves kidnapped 2 kids 4 days ago, hoping to collect a ransom of food from the townsfolk. Of course, the townsfolk already know all this and tell the party, yet there's a whole section on role-playing the wolves to deceive the party, and your PCs have probably met 1 or 2 untrustworthy talking animals by now, so they have no reason to believe them. The wolves want your party to go to the lodge so their awakened woolly mammoth companion can kill them for sport, because he's still depressed about their master, the frost giant, being killed last year by some adventurers. This is sad, but also nonsense. The book says the mammoth eats plants, so how is it even alive after 2 years into the rhyme? On that note, how are the kids alive after 4 days without heat or water, locked in a massive icy chamber that is open to the elements? Plus, I don't think it ever says how far away the lodge is in time or distance, only that there's a 50% chance of a blizzard and a 100% chance of some hungry normal wolves on the way. So you can put the lodge wherever the heck you want, and a few other fixes are to 1. Include wolf tracks to the lodge so your party can get there with or without the wolves. 2. Completely scrap the mammoth unless you want to include a magical source of grassy vegetation at the lodge. 3. Consider who killed this frost giant and why as a potential hook for your party. 4. Consider replacing the kids with another character important to your group's story as a hook. That's what I did, and it's good because all the violence to these kids could be unsettling to some of your players. And 5. Give the Boots of the Winterlands, written to be a reward from the children's mother, to these captives who have been sharing them as a means to barely survive the cold. And just be sure to note that each square on this map is 10 feet, otherwise the huge mammoth and the giant would barely fit in the doors. Now remember to check out the Call of Winter on the DM's Guild, and if you want PDFs of these town guides, join Patreon like Talana, Nunya, Evie, Living the Guild Life, Douglas, Jonathan, Matt, Voki, Chris, and Trekkie D just did. Thank you all for your support, and keep building.